Here we go. Okay, the basics. In one sentence, fire around. How is SEO different today than 5 years ago?
It isn't. That's my one sentence. It isn't. A lot of the fundamentals of SEO are still true today. I mean, maybe, it is different. I'll elaborate. I'll go into more detail. We have different platforms that we search. So user behavior has changed, but you can make the argument, I'll make the argument that SEO hasn't changed fundamentally. We'll talk more about, like best practices and what works to rank a website, to be visible. In Google is pretty much the same thing what helps you be visible in AI platforms. There are some nuances, there are some differences. But if you've been following SEO for a while, if you've been following Google updates, and if you've been working on a website for a while over the years, all the effort that it takes today to be visible are the same things you would have been doing in years past.
Actually, Tarun and I have talked about this a couple times. I agree, it has not. It is still doing many of the same behaviors. You just have to realize you've got a new audience member that you're talking to. So a lot of those things of writing good content, I call it my three-legged stool, making sure that things are searchable, findable, and relevant. Those are all still matter.
I think one of the biggest difference is about the customer expectations. Customer being people using, we'll say Google. People don't really want the long, drawn-out pages anymore. They're getting so accustomed to immediate answers. So being able to adjust the strategy to deliver that while still being able to draw in customers or get top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel interest has been a lot more interesting and difficult since 5 years ago.
What do AEO and GEO really mean? Anton.
So AEO, Answer Engine Optimization, is about showing up. This has been even pre-AI, we're just showing up in all the random little things that Google will throw out. Like the people also ask, how do you get in there? How do you get in that? The featured snippet, where Google will do anything except put my website. How do I still get in front of customers? And that takes a unique approach. Where it is kind of playing Google's game. They want the simple answers that they can throw in a featured snippet or now an AI overview, or they want a simple, maybe it's an FAQ at the bottom of your page, something that they can easily deliver to the user to answer the questions that they need and give them that kind of instant gratification that everybody has come to expect.
Yeah, I mean, I think as Anton mentioned, answer engine optimization is the user wants an answer. You can say how tall is the Eiffel Tower? Or what time is it in Florida right now? You don't need to go to a website. You get the answer right away. And Google's perspective, they're a publicly traded company. They need to make money. They make money by you clicking on ads. So they want to keep you in their environment. They want to keep on google.com. So they're going to have these featured snippets. When they can give you the info, the fact right away, they will. Versus generative engine or generative experience, whatever you want to call it, generative EO, right, is more for the AI platforms, right, where you're having a conversation. It's based on your context. It's not just ranking websites and so fact-based, let's say. It's more so context-based. It depends on what you've said prior, and it's a conversation. So there's ways to optimize for that.
That's what we've always done in the first place with SEO.
It is.
Every one of those things. So back to those fundamental things.
Remember my one sentence.
That's right.
Yeah. That's good.
It was too long. What was it?
It wasn't, yeah.
So they've answered that too, but it's still the same things. We're making sure, again, searchable, findable, relevancy. We're structuring our websites or the websites to make sure that we are answering those questions and that we're giving the expertise, the authority, all those things that when you write the EEAT stuff that are going to answer those questions for the GEO stuff, right? That there's the information that's there so that conversation can happen.
EEAT, I think maybe we could define it.
Educational expertise, authoritative and trustworthy, EEAT, that's how you want to write your content. So that's the goal, but the reality is many of your core pages within your site will be stagnant-ish. They won't necessarily meet the EAT criteria, but you want to make sure that you have connected content to that does meet.
And this is something that Google has said themselves. EEAT is how they evaluate content and evaluate a website. And then nowadays, where we have like AI search, a lot of people are putting the H and calling it heat, right? Helpful, et cetera, et cetera. So that's kind of a mindset shift to think about. But as we're saying, you should have already been doing it anyways, but there are, maybe
Yeah, one
different
thing
ways.
with that is just sometimes having like an actual author writing. If you have a blog post and you say who the author is and what their expertise is, it's like a super easy way to make portray authority and like this person actually knows what they're talking about. This isn't just a random freelancer.
Even on that note, back to I'm going to keep looping this back around.
Let's do it.
On that, doing the same, making sure you're still doing the fundamental foundational SEO items. Part of that information is also garnered from schema, which is, I like to call the cliff notes of a website for the search engines. So you put the schema in there, that also helps the AIs understand what's happening. So
Thank you, guys. I'm going to ask you this great question. What's the biggest myth you want to bust about these terms?
I think we're at a point where people are trying to define it, they're trying to label it, they're trying to have some new acronym. Things haven't changed all that drastically. Search behavior has changed more than Google has changed. And even that needs a little context that every major algorithm update that Google puts out is primarily based on user behavior, search behavior shifts. When we started using mobile devices, then mobile rendering of a website became more important and how fast the page loads. So I think the biggest myth is that now that a lot of people are using ChatGPT and Perplexity, et cetera, that we need to rewrite the whole playbook and start from scratch and do a lot of things drastically different. So that's, I think, the biggest myth I would like to dispel is that, technical SEO like schema markup, structuring your content in a certain way, answering the questions, showing those EEAT or those HEEAT signals, these are all still vital.
we should make one for supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Which content is the best to connect with the community as a small business?
Whoever posted that one, your answer is actually in your question. Yeah. Community-driven, community-focused, very geo-specific to your area. One of the challenges I recently was trying to get the enterprise world to understand, if you want it to rank on its own, you need to make it very specific to the area, nuances of language, and the geography. So speaking about maybe the local high school or local history, make your answers right in your question. So focus on you. Don't worry about outside of your space. Focus on you.
Perfect.
Yeah. I think it's also like, who is your audience and what are you trying to get them to do? What are you trying to teach them or what action do you want them to take? It's usually, almost always, it's going to be a mix of content. It's not all just blog posts, articles, page on the website. It must be video, images, et cetera, live events. So it really depends on what the goal is and what action you want the person to take. It's a mix of type of content.
Yeah, I think if you think about it, if this content showed up in like your neighborhood subreddit or forum, would you think that it was spammy or irrelevant, or would you actually be like, oh, this is something that resonates with the community, I would actually click on this and read it? I think that's a quick way to test if your advertisement or your content is good for the community or just good for a keyword or some idea that you have.
Just make sure you connect with local businesses, the Better Business Bureau, the local high school, sponsor events, try to get links or mentions and those things to keep that hyper focus on you and your local area.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, guys. Next up, how can a brand protect itself from AI hallucinations?
It's when you look at it and you go, what are you thinking?
Mm-hmm.
They're not getting it, basically.
Or
So
it makes up information
Yes.
sometimes, or
It-
pull wrong information.
it takes
you know,
one
yeah.
plus one and gets two. or 3. Because 1 plus 1 and it gets 3.
Oh, man.
You know, we're just not quite making the connection properly.
It's really early now where we have these issues, right? AIs are going to give us wrong information. Even, there's been tests where it like crawls a very specific website and you ask it to reference that website with your question and you get back information that's the wrong statistic. And you know that it's crawled the website and it's looked at that specific source, but it's still giving you incorrect information. So we're still early on where you do need to be careful if you're using AI for anything, for research, for writing, etc. You always have to fact check, you always have to do your due diligence, have an editorial process involved. But to answer the question directly, what can we do as brands? You can try to own the message as much as you can. Claim all your social profiles, claim all your local listings, issue press releases, get involved in local subreddits or relevant, subreddits. Make sure your website is accurate. Sometimes people leave outdated information on their own website. Make sure like the copyright year is up to date, so when they crawl, they know that this is up to date information. And just, we'll talk more about this, I'm sure, but like citations, like other websites that are using yours as a reference is a strong signal for traditional SEO as well as AI SEO. And so how can we get our message or get our brand message or whatever fact we're trying to get out there distributed on third-party sites, not just our website? Because it's a lot of the AI search tools will not use your website as the source of truth about your business or your company. They're going to use third-party signals, and so that's just action we need to take as a brand.
Yeah, take an hour and check that your Yelp hours matches your website hours, matches your Google hours, and that one page on your website doesn't say you offer one service that another page might say you don't offer, because then AI is still just a machine that's reading and putting together the best information it has. So if it sees any inconsistencies, that can be enough to mess up any of your search, any potential customers, misinformation, and then that can dissolve all of that trust that you worked to build.
Do you guys remember when AI overviews first came into Google? Yeah. Okay. So you know what I'm saying. So Ben knows, right? Where initially Google paid Reddit like $60 million or something to allow them to crawl all the content on Reddit and train their LLMs. Then what you see, which Ben you're probably laughing at, is a lot of people saw this and manipulated it. And you would do a search for something on Google, and you would get. I don't want to repeat some of this. Yeah, anyways, it's like some of the stuff is really crazy, like not safe for work stuff that people are getting results for, and Google's, it looks like it's fact. So, we're talking about like hallucination or brand reputation. So I think, Anton, what you said is vital. If you own a business, if you own a website, like just take a little bit of time each day or each week to check up on these things, and know that still these tools, these LLMs, it's not fact. It's not source of truth.
Here goes the old school guy again. What we referred to that back in the day was NAP. So making sure that everything matches across and is correct across those platforms. But you got to remember that and I look out and I know some of you are in my range, but you remember when the internet first came out, it was a child. They were still figuring out how to make it work properly. There weren't filters, there weren't safety measures, there was nothing. AI is still a child, and it's got ADD. It can't always follow a path, and whether you realize it can't remember your conversation from last time.
Everybody got it? Yeah? Okay, ready for more questions? Here we go. Okay, the balance between technical SEO versus high quality content. What would you say? Real quick.
Goes hand in hand.
No.
You could have, this is an old one saying I used to say too, you could have the most wonderful, beautiful, great looking website with the best content in the world, but if nobody can find it, it does you no good. So you have to do those foundational things like making sure you produce a sitemap, that you have good schema, that you get the sitemap submitted, that you aren't blocking your pages and your robots. A lot of technical terms there, but those foundational things are still there. Going and making sure, here's metaphor, simile, I never get them correct, but think of it as a grocery store. if you were given a list to go to the grocery store to buy things for baking, and the grocery store wasn't well laid out, and you had to go to aisle 7 and then aisle 14 and then aisle 25, then back to aisle 1, then back to aisle 3 to get your stuff, that would drive you nuts. That you don't want Google to have to do the same thing. So making sure your content is well organized. The other part of it is making sure that those product that you put on your shelves, that those boxes that came in aren't all sitting in the aisleway, getting in the way of them finding that info. So things like making sure you've set up your robots.txt to not crawl certain pages, or setting up a no index so that your like thank you pages aren't in the way. There's no relevance to a thank you page. It shouldn't be indexed. So keeping the boxes out of the way so Google can find the things properly within your grocery store.
I think it was analogy.
Analogy.
And it's a good analogy.
I never get them. I
Yeah.
can't ever remember. Analogy,
Yeah.
metaphor, simile.
And it's good. Most people will leave the store. They won't go 1 to 7.
Well, yeah,
And that's
Google
what
will do
Google's
that,
going to do too.
because
They're
it only
going to
has
leave.
it has a limited
site.
crawl budget.
Yeah.
So if you've got all this crud in the way, you're wasting your crawl budget
Yeah.
on
I think it's-
trying to get through the boxes.
I think it's 50-50. I mean, it's blended. You know, they're both vital. A lot of what Jeff was talking about, these are, you know, technical SEO items that every website needs, and you can talk to us later about, you know, what those are, or you can, you know, search them. It's out there, but it's also, you know, the content, like we were saying earlier, needs to be the right type of content. So it's not just any content, but it's high quality content. It's bottom, lower funnel. It's specific to, you know, things we were talking about earlier, like the different community that you're targeting and things like that. So
What about reporting? So everybody's dying to know what tools are y'all using? And what kind of reporting is it? Different from the usual SEO reporting? Are we flipping it?
Reporting's
How are we talking about
especially tricky because Google tells you what the keywords, how many times they're being searched, and where, and how difficult it is to rank. With ChatGPT and a lot of the AIs, it's all still kind of under wraps. So every week that's changing, they're releasing new data. As of right now, it's tough to say exactly. There's some tools out there that give you data based on, like they'll run 1,000 sample prompts and see what shows up. But until we get like really specific data, it's tough to give that specific reporting, which is a good thing because the SEO reporting, the keyword rankings and the visibility there plays into the AI visibility. So they are kind of one-to-one.
So what you were just saying about the tossing the thing, within a 4-day cycle, one of the sites I work on had 3.6 million impressions for a string of words. Guess how many clicks? 5.
Boom! Ow!
4 days, so we could track it. There's some things you can do. So some of the other tools, things like SEMrush, Ahrefs, they all give you the similar data that Google Analytics does. It's just through a different set of lenses in their glasses, really, right? But they are coming up with some of the AI reporting tools. You just have to pay more for that.
And we know about
Yeah.
it.
$7,000. Yeah, it's a lot of
they're
money.
capitalizing it.
Yes.
But you can, within analytics, sort within your source and mediums, and sometimes the platforms will show up. ChatGPT, I know, definitely shows up in there for source medium. Google Search Console, GSC, how people find your site. GA4 Analytics, what they do after they get there. So 2 different worlds, but they are interconnected.
So we can see how many people are coming to a site from ChatGPT, but we can't yet see what they type into ChatGPT to get your site information.
Yeah, reporting, I mean, it's important for a lot of us. Anton's actually built into our Looker Studio dashboards for our clients AI referral traffic. So as Jeff mentioned, you know, in analytics, you can see if someone clicks on a link from ChatGPT and lands on your website, that'll be a referral, or, you know, source medium, you can see that traffic. But what you don't see in analytics is if your brand was mentioned in ChatGPT or the website was and nobody clicked through. So for that, as Anton, as you were saying, you know, we're still too early to be able to like accurately track. There are tools like Peak and Profound and XFunnel and a lot of tools that are out there that try to track brand mentions, and they'll do, you know, Anton, you mentioned it, nail on the head, where they just use their API to hit ChatGPT or Perplexity or whatever and see what shows up and then report that to you. So you can, you know, we use it to sort of like test what works. We'll see where our client is in comparison to a competitor. We'll go make changes to competitor website or the pages and track that over time, see if it's made a splash or see if it's made a change, and then we can hypothesize that, okay, these changes have worked in this context or not. And so
Going deeper into the technology side of it, Screaming Frog has not just the site crawler, but they've got a log file analyzer. Using the log file is another way to try to get an idea of what's happening with them.
Nitty gritty.
That's pretty, yeah. That'll cross your eyes if you look at it for too long.
Yeah.
So log file is like, Google Analytics shows what users are doing on your website. A log file analysis shows you what crawlers and bots are doing on your website.
From a server level.
Or from a server, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's crawlers and humans, but yeah, the server level, server log files.
What is a zero-click, and what's an example of a zero-click experience that marketers need to pay attention to, guys?
I like Tarun's example from the get-go, from the first answer. If you Google how tall is the Eiffel Tower, and then Google tells you it's 10,000 feet.
No, 10,000.
I have no guess. And you go, great, and then you close the browser and get on with your life. That's a zero-click experience. You didn't have to click on any website, but the website still got impressions. When it comes to businesses, people might search questions, or they just search Ann Arbor co-working spaces. They might get a list, and they say, great, okay, I got a little AI overview. I saw that bamboo is in my neighborhood, maybe I'll pop in. And they close the tab. That's another zero-click experience. There was no click, but maybe there was still either they got their question answered, or they got something from the AI overview or featured snippet that gave them enough information to complete their search experience, or they got distracted and went on TikTok.
Click that. Yeah. Speaking from experience.
Yeah.
I think that's a good example. And what you can do, I guess, what do we need to pay attention to as marketers is we need to analyze those types of keywords that are resulting in an AI overview. If you track a group of keywords and you see that there is an AI overview, that means most likely you will not get traffic to your website from that keyword or those groups of keywords. So you need to ask yourself, is it worth optimizing for? Is it worth creating content for? A lot of times, yes, it is. You want that brand visibility. You want to be listed in that list of co-working spots. But don't spend a ton of time and money and resources on that unless brand visibility is important to you, because it's not going to result in a conversion. So it's good to kind of segment that group of keywords and have a certain content strategy for those, and then evaluate maybe more lower funnel type of conversion action oriented keywords and have a different type of content strategy for those.
Okay. I just want to throw in here, how do you measure success when clicks decline?
I was just having this conversation with somebody else that overall in-site traffic, so GA4 users are down, impressions are way up. They're worried about the traffic, but their conversions are doing fabulously compared to last year. So there's the win. Traffic doesn't make you money, your conversions make you money. So focus on the right thing. If your conversions are suffering, then you need to look a little deeper. But if your traffic is faltering, your conversions, I think, are doing well, and you're making money, you're getting queries, you're getting leads, you're still winning.
Somebody search what is Pilates, that person's probably not booking a Pilates class that week. They might get the AI overview, no click.
They thought
great.
it was a dirty word from a Reddit scrape by
But then when they search Ann Arbor Pilates, those people are more likely to convert. So I think we're kind of focusing away from what is Pilates, because now people can get that from ChatGPT or just the AI overview, or like a book.
Or books.
Now we're focused more on Ann Arbor Pilates and people who are more action focused.
There's an intent based on that query. They're not just looking to find out what it is, they're looking to find out where it's at.
Yes.
That's the intent. That is a local intent.
Mm-hmm.
And that page, the results that should show there would be the locations to click into, not popping somebody to the location finder page that makes them click 7 more times to find that answer.
Yeah, so we might get a lot fewer clicks on our What is Pilates page that was converting maybe 0.1%, but we're still getting the conversions from people searching Ann Arbor Pilates and then being very intentional from there.
Okay, we got a lightning round. Okay. Which industry leaders and resources do you follow to stay informed about the latest developments? What's your favorite?
Anton and Jeff Wallace. I like Lily Ray.
He follows my math programs.
Mike, I forget his last name, from iPullRank. He's a really smart guy. Aleda, yeah.
Okay.
Those are a few.
Anton.
There's like a million newsletters. They'll all give you like the big updates and like digestible chunks. I think SEO FOMO is one. I think that's
It's Aleda's.
Yeah. But any newsletter that you like, the author and the way that they communicate will give you a lot of great information.
Yeah, so along some of those lines too, but also some of the standards like Search Engine Journal, Search Engine Land, those things still follow all of those. I find a lot of interesting content popping into LinkedIn, actually. And I know that their algorithms got a little better at putting content that is good for you on there. There's a ton, if you start following them, there's a ton of people posting prompts. Here's my prompts for this. So you can get them for free a lot of times. So it's kind of fun until they build up in your inbox and then you forget to go look at them.
Yeah.
Okay, top 3 AI tools. Drew.
Yeah. Tarun, Anton, and Jeff. I like one called Peak AI. I think we talked a little bit about it.
Bingo.
I like ChatGPT Agent a lot. I think it's got a good UI and it's like a lot of the functionality without putting things behind the curtain. So you can actually know, you can look at things and see why it's doing what it's doing. And Profound is a good tool as well.
I use those as well, but I would rather give a warning to any AI tool that offers like give you all the tips you need to show up in AI for like $3,000 a month. It's just going to give you the same SEO tips that we've been talking about for an hour and that everybody's been talking about for 10 years. It'll tell you to be authoritative and show up on third-party websites and have clean, digestible content. But it'll say that it told you that with AI.
So Manus is one of them. I use Google or Gemini. One interesting thing that I find about Gemini, actually I find it for entertaining. It's entertaining sometimes too, is with Gemini, I was asking questions for Looker Studio and it kept giving me the wrong answers. And then I would tell it, you've given me the wrong answer. It says, oh, you're totally right. It's like, you should have known in the first place. Yeah.
Same product.
Have you had that happen?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's like, it's your own
apologizes,
freaking tool. It's like when Microsoft bought LinkedIn, and remember the LinkedIn connector for Outlook, but it wouldn't connect.
Yeah.
What's wrong? So anyways, and then, yeah, just the, Claude and those guys, it's just standards. But Manus is the one I haven't heard anybody talk about, which is really fun. I think it's interesting to watch it think, because it does show it, and it'll actually give you a button that you can watch Manus's computer screen.
Yeah.
I don't know. I also watch a podcast on YouTube about a guy repairing computers all the time. So I'm easily entertained.
One word close. What do you want everybody to remember?
I'll say that there's generally not, as of now, like a ton of new stuff that you really need to learn. AI will be impacting everything, but really everything, if you know anything about SEO now, that's still true. What you're doing in SEO will still pay off in AI GEO.
So a lot of times you'd see these articles where these people do all this stuff to maneuver around the search engines, and they work really hard, but then they go back to normal. So I tend to operate in that known area. I don't try to go and beat it. And so keep doing the same fundamental things, understand how the ancillary tools work to make sure that you're meeting some of their standards. But if you still focus primarily on the fundamentals, you will still succeed. But again, make sure you know the tools to help you out.
Experiment.
There you go.
Right on. One word. I love that. Good job, guys. You guys rock. Thank you.
You're so good, Linda.
Thank you.
Really impressive. Good job, fellas.
AI stuff, LinkedIn profile.